Greetings of the day and welcome to the session. So in the previous session we have seen what is control, and also we learned that there are three types of controls that are to be applied at different organizational levels. At the low level we need to have operational control, and at the middle level we need to have management control, and at the top level they have to control the execution of the strategy. So we can divide the types of controls that are exercised in a particular organization into three: operational control, management control, and strategic control. So these are the three types of controls. Now, what do you mean by operational control? Operational control means generally the operations that are taking place at the lower level of the organizations, they have to be controlled, and this operational control is very important for achieving the targeted results, for achieving the desired results. So each and everything at the low level, like procurement of the goods, placement of orders, managing the staff, managing the attendance of the staff, so these all things have to be controlled in a proper manner. That is the most important thing. And what will we do to control these things at the operational level? Majorly we can use some softwares, or we can use some mechanical devices to control. For example, you want your employees to come on time and to leave on time. So earlier we used to maintain attendance register where the employees need to sign there, but that control is not very effective. Today you can have biometric systems where an employee will give a thumb impression whenever he comes into the office, and again he has to give a thumb impression when he leaves the office. So this is an operational control to control the attendance of the employees, that it is done in a proper way. So like that, you can have automatic inventory softwares which helps you to monitor the inventory of your organization. Likewise, you can have softwares for payroll, for calculating the salaries and all. So these kind of softwares or some other mechanical devices will be of great help to you to deal with the operational issues in the organization and to ensure that all the operations are carried out in a perfect manner. And you should never forget that if you don't do the operations in a better way, you cannot achieve efficiency in implementing the strategy. Forget about effectiveness. Effectiveness, already we studied in this lesson, effectiveness will be at the strategy formulation. But here we are talking about strategy implementation, where lot of operational control like stock control, inventory control, production control, quality control, staff control, budgetary controls, these all things, they all come under operational controls. And the second one is management controls. Compared to operational controls, management controls are bigger controls. They include lot of things, okay, and these managerial controls are very much essential to the organization to achieve the short-term goals as well as long-term goals. That means the middle level managers in the organization, they should focus their efforts and energies in achieving the short-term goals and long-term goals. Now we have to ensure whether they are working properly or not, whether they are working effectively and efficiently to achieve the short-term as well as long-term goals or not. Proper monitoring is being done or not. So these all things we need to control, and that thing comes under management control. And the third one is our topic, that is strategic control. And you have to continuously monitor whether your strategies are giving you the desired results or not, whether you are implementing the strategy as per your plan or not. If you fail to implement your strategy as per the plan, then it is an indication that you need to go for some control measures to make your strategy work as per your plan. So that is the most important thing. Now here we have three things: operational control, management control, and strategic control. Now already we got a basic idea regarding these three controls. Let us move forward and study about these three controls in greater detail, word by word. First one, operational control. The thrust of operational control is on individual tasks or transactions as against total or more aggregative management functions. See, what do you mean by the word thrust? Here, thrust means the importance, the significance, or the focus. So, generally, these operational controls are focused on individual operations. Now, what do you mean by individual operations? Like, individual operations implies marketing control, stock control, production control, material control, labor control, and control of the budgets. These are all individual operations. So, the major thrust or the major focus of these operational controls will be on individual tasks or transactions or operations or functions, to enable those functions to work in a better manner. Here, unlike managerial controls, where managerial controls are more inclusive and aggregative, that means managerial control will be done at the divisional level, where at the divisional level the controls will be regarding the performance of the entire division. That means a division consists of lot of functions, no? Like marketing, finance, production. These all things will be there at the divisional level. So, these all combine it together, we need to control. That is why we say management level controls. Okay, or management control is more aggregative, because at the divisional level you have to control many things at a time. The divisional manager need to focus on many areas at a time, and he has to control the entire division. That is why we say the management controls are more aggregative, whereas the operational control is focused only on an individual activity or an individual transaction or an individual function. So that's why compared to management control, operational control focuses, the thrust area is on individual things rather than aggregative things. And many of the control systems in organizations are operational and mechanical in nature. Yes, this is the most important set of controls. Operational controls are the most important set of controls, because see, you may plan well, but if your operations fail, if you don't have operational excellence, if you do not perform your operations in an optimum manner, in a better way, then definitely you cannot achieve your objectives. So that's why we design or we devise many control systems to control the operations, and most of them are mechanical. That means once you devise a system, once you devise a control mechanism to control a particular operation like stock control or payroll or people or material or budget, that will become mechanical. So you need not think about it, because at the lower levels of the organization, we always do routine works, repeated works. So once you do the work in the same way, in a repeated manner, now you can have a mechanized control. So you need not change the control all the time. It is just enough you just devise the control for the first time, and you can keep on implementing the same control over a period of time. That is the meaning of the word mechanical in nature. So operational controls are mechanical in nature. And some of the examples of operational controls can be stock control, production control, quality control, and cost and budgetary control. Here there is a typo, you need to correct it. It is cost and budgetary control. Okay, right. So that is about operational control, and that is very important. But our focus area in this particular subject of strategic management is not operational control, is not management control, but our focus area is strategic control. Now let us try to understand what is management control. When compared to operational control, management control is more inclusive and more aggregative. See, I have already told you what do you mean by more aggregative, where operational control's trust area or focus area is an individual activity, an individual operation. But whereas the management control is more aggregative. Aggregative, what do you mean by aggregation? Aggregation means joining the things. For example, you are a divisional manager. Now, what things you have to control? You have to control a lot of things. You have to control marketing, finance, production, operations, logistics, everything related to your division you have to control. So, generally the management controls are more aggregative. You will not be focusing on a particular area or a particular transaction or a particular operation, but you will be concentrating on many things at the same time. And what is the meaning of the word inclusive? Inclusive means everything is included, everything is connected, and people at the divisional level managers, they have to focus on several things at a time. That is why we are saying, when compared to the operational control, management control is more inclusive and more aggregative. And its basic purpose is to achieve enterprise goals, short range and long range, in a most effective and efficient manner. Yes, it is the responsibility of the divisional level managers to achieve the short-term and long-term goals of the organization. Because already in the first chapter we have learnt about the business level managers or divisional level managers. One sentence you have already learnt telling that the divisional level managers or the business level managers are held responsible for the performance of that particular division. So, as they are held responsible for a particular division or a particular business, definitely they have to look forward for the achievement of the short range and long range goals of the particular division. That means, compared to operational controls, management controls are bigger, wider, more aggregative, more inclusive, and operational controls are very easy, but management controls are not so easy. Because operational controls are mechanized in nature, we do the same thing all the time, we carry on the same activity all the time. Whereas coming to management control, we cannot have the same control mechanism all the time. Depending on the situations, depending on various other factors, from time to time, we have to change the management controls. And it is a tough task for the divisional manager or a business level manager to exercise these management controls, because they are very bigger controls. They comprise of lot of things. Because as a divisional manager, you have to control a lot of things. See, the job of a functional manager is very easy compared to the job of a divisional manager. Because this person, this functional manager, has to take care of only a particular area of activity, only a particular function, like marketing, HR or something. But whereas, as a divisional manager, you need to focus on all the things that are required, that are related to your particular division. Now, coming to the third one, strategic control. Strategic control focuses on the dual questions: whether the strategy is being implemented as planned and the results produced by the strategy are those intended. See, these are two logical questions. So, you can ask me a question, sir, how can I find that there is a need to control my strategy? Or what is the need to control my strategy straight away? You can ask me in that way. So, I can give you answers. See, you have to first find out whether your strategy is being implemented as planned or not. That means, is everything going on according to your plan or not? Are you getting the standard performance or not? See, you can achieve your desired results, your targeted results, only when you execute the things as per your standard performance measure. Because here the word standard performance is the most important word, because we need to carry out things as per the standard performance. So, are you able to do the things according to the standard performance? That is the most important thing. And the second one, the results produced by the strategy or those intended. See, whenever you are implementing a strategy, you will definitely get some results. But the biggest question here is, are those results or desired results or not? It is not the thing that you are getting the results, but the most important thing is, are those results really intended by you, or those results are really the results that are intended by you, or that are wanted by you, that are desired by you. See, some results, while you implement a particular strategy, definitely you will get some results. So, getting results is not the question here. Getting results is not the question here. Then what is the question? The question is, are you getting the intended results? Are you getting the desired results? So that is the question. So once you say yes to these two questions, then you need not have any strategy control. But on the other hand, if you say that my strategy is not being executed as per my plan and I could not able to get the standard performance, this is one situation. And the second situation, the results I am getting by executing the strategy are not the desired results. I am getting some other results which are not desired by me. Then this is the second situation. So in these two situations, you have to control your strategy. You need to make some corrective and necessary adjustments in your vision, mission and objectives that are deemed appropriate. Now we came at the fifth point of the strategic management process. What is the fifth point of the strategic management process? Making necessary and corrective adjustments in the vision, mission and objectives which are deemed appropriate for a period of time. So now we are doing that. That means the fifth step of strategic management process, that is strategy control. Because once your strategy is not giving you the intended results and once you could not achieve the standard performance, definitely that is an indication there is a necessity to change your strategy. That is the most important point you need to keep in mind. Now, let us, as I have already told you, our main focus area is not operational control or management control. Let us move forward and learn in a deeper manner about strategic control. What is strategic control, and explain different types of strategic control. Okay, right. See, what is strategic control? Already we learnt. See, you have devised a strategy, you have formulated a strategy and you started implementing the strategy. Okay, but every time you have to evaluate. Evaluation is the most important thing. See, in the same lesson we have learned that change comes through implementation and evaluation. All the time you need to check yourself, you need to evaluate whether you are getting the desired results or not, whether the strategies are executed in a proper manner or not. So all the time you need to check it out. That is the most important thing. So first of all, we need to evaluate whether our strategy is working properly or not. And if you strongly feel that your strategy is not giving you the intended results, then it is the right time to make adjustments in your strategy and make your strategy effective. Okay. Now, sir, in what way I can control my strategies? In what way? What is the possible ways of controlling my strategies? You can ask me that question. Now, the answer is, here we are having different types of controlling your strategy. The first one is premise control. The first one is the premise control. Now, what is premise? Premise is assumption. See, all our plans are assumptions only. Do you concur with me? Do you agree with me? Okay. All plans are your assumptions about the future. They are all premises. That is the word which tell premise. Premise means you have assumed something beforehand and you want to work out your assumption. You want to make your assumption to work. So that's why everything is a premise. And now you have to control your premise. You have to control your premise. Because, okay, you have formulated a strategy and you are executing that strategy. And what do you mean by formulating a strategy? Formulating a strategy means making some assumptions. Making some assumptions. You have studied the environment, you have scanned the external environment, and you made some assumptions about the external environment. And accordingly, you have planned everything, your direction, your approach, your business model, your business definition, everything you have planned. But don't forget, it is not really real. It is just your assumption. It is your presumption. It is your premise. So, and you should never forget that you are working in a dynamic environment. So, when you are working in a dynamic environment where everything is changing, automatically you also have to change your assumptions according to the changing environment. See, for example, I have scanned the environment, I have studied the environment some 2 years back, and accordingly I made a strategy. But 2 years in the present time, 2 years is a very long period, because a lot of changes are taking place in the business environment within days. A lot of global, political, legal, technological, economic, social, demographic changes are taking place all the time within a short span of time. So 2 years is a very long time. So I made a strategy basing on the environmental analysis of 2 years ago. But now, definitely I have to correct my strategy. I have to make new assumptions because a lot of things are changed within the span of 2 years. So accordingly, I also have to change my premises, my assumptions. So in this way, you can change your strategies. That is called as premise control. And the second type of strategy control is strategic surveillance. What is surveillance actually? Surveillance is close observation of the things. That is called surveillance. And generally, surveillance will be focused. But the speciality in the subject of strategic management is that we say that the surveillance should be unfocused. The surveillance should be unfocused. Because a strategist has to look around what is happening. Okay, so he has to read newspapers, he has to read magazines, journals, attend the conferences, exhibitions, workshops, okay, formal and informal gatherings. So he needs to get information from all sides, from all quarters, and basing on that, he needs to revise his strategy. That is called as strategic surveillance. And the third one, special alert control. See, this COVID-19 is a special alert control, which tells the deficiencies in your organization. Likewise, there may be a terrorist attack in your area. Okay, recently there was a floods of glaciers in Uttarakhand. Okay, and that is a special alert control where the NTPC unit was greatly damaged. So, likewise, there will be some special alerts like earthquakes, terrorist attacks, political changes, viral attacks. So, these all changes which are big drivers of change, triggering factors, triggering forces, these all will bring a lot of change, an immense change in the strategy of the organization. So, a strategy manager has to closely pay attention to all these events that are taking place in the organization, and accordingly he has to make the strategies. That is very important. That is called as special alert control. And the next one is implementation control. Okay, while you are implementing the strategies, at each and every point you need to pay attention whether your strategies are being executed as per your plan or not. That is very important, and that comes under implementation control. So here we have 4 types of strategy control. You can control your strategy either by premise control or by strategic surveillance or by special alert control or implementation control. Now, with this basic understanding, let us move forward and study the question in a detailed manner. Now, let's start. What is strategic control basically? Strategic control is the process of evaluating the strategy as it is formulated and implemented. Means already you have formulated a strategy and that strategy is implemented. Now what you have to do? You have to evaluate whether your formulation is perfect or not, whether your implementation is perfect or not. So how can you evaluate? You can evaluate basing on the results that you get. See, if you get the desired results, it means your strategy is working fine. But on the other hand, if you don't get the desired results or the results intended by you or by your strategy, it means that there is a problem. So you have to take the feedback and you have to make necessary changes in your strategy, or you need to make your strategy to work better and give you the right kind of desired results. And it is directed towards identifying problems and changes in premises and making necessary adjustments. That is what? What is control? Control is making the necessary adjustments to make your strategies work. Because we are functioning in a constantly dynamic environment. So in a dynamic environment, nothing is permanent. The same strategy will not work for a long time. All the time you have to constantly monitor the environment and make necessary corrective adjustments in your strategy. Only then you can execute your strategy. And that is what you need to understand. The strategy formulation and implementation is not a one-time process. And in the same lesson, we have learnt about a very important concept called forward linkages and backward linkages. So, when you are implementing a strategy, sometimes you need to change the formulation of your strategy, which is called as a backward linkage basing on the feedback. Okay, so that you need to understand. Now coming to the types of strategic control, the first one is the premise control. I have already told you what is a premise control. A premise means assumption. So premise control means controlling your assumptions, because after all your strategy is a set of assumptions about the future. So you should make your strategies flexible. If you are not in a position to change your strategies, then your strategies become rigid, and with rigid strategies you cannot get the competitive advantage. Now let us focus on premise control. What is premise control? A strategy is formed on the basis of certain assumptions or premises about environment. Yes, absolutely. It is a fact. It is a fact. Every businessman in this world do the same thing. They will study the environment. They will have a view. They will have an opinion. They will have an assumption regarding the environment, and accordingly they formulate a particular strategy. And over a period of time, these premises may change. Why? Because the environment is constantly changing. When the environment is constantly changing, different things always change. New opportunities will come, new threats will come, and you have to change your strategies, you have to change your assumptions according to the changes that are taking place in the external environment. That is what you need to understand. And premise control is a tool for systematic and continuous monitoring of the environment to verify the validity and accuracy of the premises on which the strategy has been built. Very important point, very important point. Now, what actually is the premise control? Means you have to observe whether your strategy is giving you the perfect result or not. Okay? If your strategy is not giving you the perfect result, what does it mean? What actually is your strategy? Your strategy is a set of your assumptions. That means your assumptions are not working well. Your assumptions are not accurate. Your assumptions are not valid. Now, you should be in a position to accept the fact, and you should be in a position to change the presumptions, to change the premises on which your strategy was built. Means you need to have a set of new assumptions, you need to have a set of new premises, and you have to modify your strategy because your earlier assumptions are not working. Why? Because there is no guarantee that your assumption should work. You might be a very experienced person having a lot of expertise, but that will not work sometimes because the environment is much bigger than anything, and the environmental effect is much bigger than anything. So that's why always we need to align ourselves, always we need to orient ourselves according to the environment. So there is nothing wrong in changing the assumptions and having new assumptions in the place of old assumptions. Okay? Right. It primarily involves monitoring two types of factors. Sir, in what way I have to change my assumptions? What is the guide? What is the basis for me to change my assumptions? The first one is environmental factors such as economic, technology, social and regulatory. See, several times I am telling you, environment is our guide, philosopher, mentor, everything. So, if you want to know what you have to do, always refer to the environment. Always observe what is happening technologically, politically, socially, globally, economically, what is happening. So that will tell you in what way you need to change your assumptions. And industry factors such as competitors, suppliers, substitutes, these all we studied in the dynamics of competitive strategy. They are the dynamics, they are the forces basing on which a competitive strategy of the organization is formulated. So again you have to go back and study the dynamics of competitive strategy. You have to check out whether any new substitutes have come into the market. What about the situation of the supplier? What about the situation of the competitors? Again, you have to study the 5 forces model of competition analysis given by Michael Porter. And basing on all this, you have to formulate a new set of assumptions to make your strategy effective and efficient, and to make your strategy give you the required competitive advantage, right? So that is premise control. And the next one is strategic surveillance. See, I have already told you, surveillance is a closer observation. Okay, a closer observation of something is a surveillance. And generally we say surveillance should be focused. But here we are saying that strategic surveillance should be unfocused. Strategic surveillance should be unfocused. What do you mean by strategic surveillance should be unfocused? That means you have to focus on many things at a time. If you are focusing on only one thing at a time, for example, if you are focusing only on competition, but some new technology may change the model of your business and you are not focusing on technology. So that is a mistake. So what you have to do? You have to make your surveillance unfocused. Need to focus on many things at the same time. Like you have to make the general monitoring of various sources of information. General monitoring of economic environment, political environment, social environment. Like this, you have to generally monitor the environment, because this environment will tell you about the opportunities and threats. So, whenever you monitor the environment, you can unleash or you can uncover, the unanticipated information having a bearing on the organizational strategy. That means there is something happening in the environment. So, I have to observe it. I have to make a surveillance of it. Only then I can know what is happening in the environment and what that is going to affect my strategy. In what way that is going to affect my strategy, I will know. See, if I don't read any newspaper, if I don't attend any workshop or any exhibition, or I don't read any journal or a magazine, or if I don't participate in any discussion, either formal or informal discussions, then how can I gather the information? How can I know what is happening around me? So, definitely I have to do all these things. Being at the top level of the organization, I need to do all these things to gather the information. And in that information, I can find some unanticipated information that may have a negative impact on my particular strategy. So, I have to be much aware. I have to be very responsive. I have to be so dynamic and constantly observe, because something from some side, something from some direction may come and may spoil my strategy. So I should be aware. I should have a 360 degrees observation of the things and try to know what is happening in different quarters of the world that may have a negative impact on my strategy. And in order to avoid that negative impact, I have to make necessary corrective adjustments. That is what the fifth point of strategic management process is telling you. The next one, special alert control. Yes, sometimes some unexpected events takes place, and due to those unexpected events, you have to make changes in your strategy. You have to reconsider your strategy, because these unexpected events or unexpected triggers of change will bring about a radical, a massive, a drastic change in the business environment. And if there is a massive, radical, drastic change in the business environment, and if your strategy is not modified according to the environment, do you think that you can execute your strategy in a perfect manner and can get the competitive advantage? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, all the time, we need to be aware of the special alert controls and the effect of that special alert control on your organization, and accordingly you have to modify your strategies. For example, you are having a factory in a particular area, and where that area is a earthquake prone area or a terrorist prone area. So do you plan to invest more in that area and develop your factory further? Definitely not. So, natural calamities, viral attacks, terrorist attacks, global factors, Okay, these all things become special alerts. So a strategy manager, the person at the top level of the organization, should understand the impact of those special events on his strategy. How my strategy is getting a trouble by this special event. In that way, you need to make an analysis. So sometimes unexpected events may force organizations to reconsider their strategy. And sudden changes in government, natural calamities, terrorist attacks, unexpected merger or acquisition by competitors. Okay, yeah, all of a sudden two of your competitors may merge together and become much more stronger. So now you have a very big, aggressive and stronger competitor than earlier. Now you have to revise your strategy, because now your existing strategy is not helpful to you to combat against that strong competitor. So accordingly, you have to reorganize your strategy and make a new strategy. And industrial disasters. So all of a sudden, some of your machines may go wrong. You may not carry on as per your production schedules. All of a sudden, there might be a very big expenditure. So these are all special alerts, which tells that you have to revise your strategy, review your strategy one more time. And to cope up with the eventualities, organizations may form crisis management teams to handle the situation. See, in enterprise information systems, we learn about ERM, enterprise risk management. So today, the risk management courses and enterprise risk management is being given much importance by the organizations, because all the time you need to assess the risk for your organization, and accordingly you need to make the risk management strategies to make your corporate strategy to work. That means in a corporate strategy, the risk management strategy should also be a part. Means whenever you come across a risk, what strategy you need to follow to overcome that risk, to avoid that risk, or to mitigate the losses that you get from that risk. Okay, so this all you need to understand. And the next one is implementation control. Managers implement strategy by converting major plans into concrete sequential actions that form incremental steps. Already we learned a strategy cannot be implemented as it is. A strategy should be broken down into plans, plans into programs, programs into projects. The same thing we learned in this lesson. So now the projects are executed. Now what is a project? A project will have a specific target, time frame, everything will be there for a project. And you need to ensure that all these projects are working fine or not. Implementation control is directed towards assessing the need for changes in the overall strategy in light of unfolding events and results associated with the incremental steps and actions. That means, while you are implementing a strategy, you have to find out what changes are taking place and how I need to change the implementation of my strategy. So that you need to find out. Next, the two basic forms of implementation control are the first one, monitoring the strategic thrusts, and second one, the milestone reviews. Now, what is monitoring the strategic thrust? Now, what is a thrust? What is a thrust? A thrust is a focus area. Okay, so it helps the managers to determine where the overall strategy is progressing, whether the overall strategy is progressing as desired or whether there is a need for readjustment. That means, how can you know that? Means there will be some key performance indicators, like key success factors, KSF. There are KPIs, key performance indicators. So what is a key performance indicators? Like sales is a key performance indicator. Okay, and market share is a key performance indicator. So when you are implementing a strategy, you have to focus on certain areas like your sales, like your market share. So are they improving or not? If they are improving as per your estimation, that means your strategies are working well, working fine. On the other hand, if the key performance indicators are not improving, your sales is not improving, your market share is not improving, your brand equity is not improving, then what is the use of executing these strategies? There is something wrong, there is something problem. Your strategies are not giving you the results. So that tells you that you need to change the style of implementing your strategy, because your strategy is not giving you the required results. The next one, milestone reviews. See, generally when we are executing a strategy, we divide the things. By this time we need to achieve this. By the end of this first quarter we need to achieve this. By the end of the second quarter we need to achieve this. By the end of the third quarter we need to achieve that. So generally we will have this kind of estimations and we start implementing the strategy. Okay, you had a objective to be achieved at the end of the first quarter. Okay, the first quarter is over and already the second quarter starts. Now in the beginning of the second quarter, you have to check out whether you have reached the milestone or not. What is the milestone? What you want to achieve in the first quarter, that becomes the milestone. Now you have to check out whether you have reached the milestone of the first quarter or not. For example, you did not reach. What is the implication? What does it imply? It implies that there is some problem in your strategy. So you have to make necessary and corrective adjustment in your strategy to make your strategy to reach the milestones. That is called as milestone review. And this can be done for every quarter, or this can be done for every 6 months, or this can be done annually depending on the situations, right? So that is called as milestone review. So all key activities necessary to implement strategy are segregated in terms of time, events, or major resource allocation. Okay, and it normally involves a complete reassessment of the strategy. Yes, for example, you did not reach your milestone, then you have to reassess your strategy completely and make necessary adjustment, and you need to find out the areas where you need to focus. Okay, so that is implementation control. So now another question comes to your mind. Sir, okay, you are telling that I need to change my strategy, and you are telling that if your strategy is not working well, if your strategy is not showing the standard performance, then you need to change your strategy. That is okay. But how can I know? How can I know that my strategy is not doing well? Okay, you said all the measures, what has to be done to change my strategy, okay, to control my strategy. But how will I know? Yes, you can know by strategy audit. By auditing your strategy. It is not the financial statement audit. It is not the audit of financial statements. It is strategy audit. It is not the auditing stuff that you study in the subject of auditing. It is totally different. This strategy audit is done by strategy consultants, management consultants, okay, and business consultants like BCG, Boston Consulting Group, Ernst & Young, Deloitte. So these all companies, they conduct this kind of strategy audit. So they audit your strategy, not the financial statements. They audit your strategy and they'll find out the lacuna, the gap in your strategy, and they give you a proper idea regarding where you need to make the adjustments, where you need to make the corrections. So that is the reason strategy audit is a very important thing. Okay, so let us study about the need for strategy audit, okay, the reason for strategy audit, the meaning of strategy audit and all. See, that the concept is very simple. What is the concept? you need to find out where your strategy is working properly and where it is not working properly. See, first that you have to know, no? Without knowing where your strategy is working better and where your strategy is not working better, how can you control your strategy? So, strategy audit should precede the strategy control. Okay. So, strategy audit will help the top level management to understand where the changes have to be made. In what way the changes have to be made, or whether there is a need to change the strategy. See, sometimes there may not be a need to change the strategy, and sometimes there may be a big need, a big requirement to change the strategy. So how can we know all these things? That is the point of discussion here. So we know all these things by conducting a strategy audit. Just like financial statement audit, here also the strategy auditors evaluate each and everything, and they will come to a conclusion and they will inform the top level management about the progress of executing the strategies in the organization. Now let us move forward. Meaning and need of strategy audit. The audit of management performance with regard to its strategies helps organization identify the problem areas and correct strategic approaches that have not been effective so far. See, very beautifully it is said. See, you are implementing a strategy, and are you competitively or in a competent way are you executing the strategy? This is point number one. Because already we said, a technically perfect strategy which is not implemented well will not give you the results. So, we need to measure the competence of the management with which they are executing the strategy, and the problem areas in the strategy, and whether the strategic approaches which are not effective. Means already you are implementing, you are following an approach, you are implementing a strategy, but that is not giving you any result. So how can you find out all these things? See, there are three important things here. The management performance while executing the strategy, that is point number one. The problem areas in the strategy, and the strategies that are not giving any results. So we need to find out about these three things, and these three things can be find out using a strategy audit. Now, a strategy audit is an examination and evaluation of areas affected by the operation of a strategic management process within an organization. So you are implementing a strategy, and you know, according to William F. Gluck, a strategy is a unified, comprehensive, integrated plan. So whenever you are implementing a strategy, that strategy will definitely affect or bring about a change in some parts of the organization. Now, what changes are brought by the strategy? That first the strategy auditors will find out. Next, it provides an excellent platform for discussion with the top management regarding the necessary corporate actions or changes in the existing business plan. See, top level management always wanted to know whether they need to bring any changes in the existing business plan or not. So how can they know that? Once they allow the strategy auditors, once they engage a consultancy firm to audit their strategy, and once these strategy auditors or the management consulting firms audit the strategy, then these strategy auditors can talk to the top level management, they can have a dialogue, and from that they can understand the top level management can understand what changes they have to initiate in the strategy. And it also identifies the need to adjust the existing business strategies and plans. That means by making a strategy audit, you can understand what changes you need to make in your strategy. And strategy audit focus mainly on the following questions. See, questions are very important for auditing, isn't it? You have to ask the right questions to get the right answers, right? So what are the important questions that a strategy auditor should keep in his mind before auditing a strategy? The first one is, how well is the current strategy working? What is the efficiency ratio of the current strategy? How well, how better, in what way the current strategy is working? And how well will the current strategy be working in the future? Yep, this is a very beautiful question. Okay, your strategy is working well at present, But is there any guarantee that the same strategy also works in the coming 2 years? May or may not. So the auditors wanted to find it out. And how can this be evaluated in the present and future? What is the efficiency and effectiveness of strategy at present? At present it may be okay, but can it show the same efficiency and effectiveness in the coming years? Whether it will increase. See, some strategies may not work well right now, but in future they may work well. And some strategies may work well right now, and in future they may not work well. So you need to find out, what about the efficiency and effectiveness of strategy at present and in future? And how urgent is there a need to change the strategy? This is the most important question. Is there any urgency in changing the strategy? So these all questions the strategy auditor should keep in mind and start auditing the strategy, so that after completion of strategy audit, they should find accurate answers to all these questions. And what is the need for strategy audit? Already you know what is the need for strategy audit. See, for example, when the performance indicators, I have told you, KPIs, key performance indicators. So when those KPIs reflect that strategy is not working properly or is not producing desired outcomes, that means I have told you, you are implementing a strategy to improve your sales, but your sales is not improving. Your market share is not improving. Then what is the use of executing a strategy if the key performance indicators are not progressing? Okay, so then you have to think about the efficiency of your strategy in bringing out the results. And when the goals and objectives of the strategy are not being accomplished. See, every strategy will have a desired result, end result, achieving the competitive advantage. But are you getting it? Are you really grabbing it by implementing the strategy? That is the question you need to ask. And when a major change takes place in the external environment of the organization, that already we learnt premise control, special alert control. So this all comes under this third point, where a lot of change have been taken place in the external environment and your current strategy is not capable enough to deal with all those external changes. Now, when the top management plans to fine-tune the existing strategies and introduce new strategies, yes, that is part and parcel of the game. All the time you need to fine-tune the existing strategies and introduce new strategies in their place. Okay, because the same strategy do not work for a long time. And to ensure that a strategy that has worked in the past continues to be in tune with the certain internal and external changes that may have occurred since the formulation of strategies. Yes, very good, very good. See, I have started implementing a particular strategy. I have started following a particular approach some 2 years ago. And I am continuing the same approach. But in this span of 2 years, lot of changes might have taken place in the environment. So, did I make any corrections to the strategy? No, I did not make. That means a lot of change has been taken place, but I did not include all those changes in my strategy, in my approach. I am blindly focusing on the existing strategy and moving forward. So that is not a right thing. So I have to correct it. I have to include the new things. I have to make new assumptions. And I have to make a premise control and I need to execute the strategy. So these all things tells you the need for strategy audit. So, see, one more time I am telling you, focus on similar questions, application oriented questions. Just don't think that in examination question will be asked like this, meaning and need of strategy audit. No, never. So go for application oriented questions, contextual based questions or scenario based questions. Okay, try to read them. You have an opportunity here. We have given as a similar questions. So you read them, you will definitely get benefited by them. So don't neglect them. Okay. So we will stop here and continue the remaining things in the next session. Thank you.